There are certain things right out of the box that parents say or think they don't ever want their child to become. We don't want our child to be criminals. We don't want them to be drug dealers or drug addicts. We don't want them to become alcoholics, and we don't want them to be homeless. We don't want our child to be failures in life. We don't want them to become pimps or prostitutes. And from what I've seen, what I've heard, and from what I have read, for the parent, the fear of their child becoming homosexual or practicing homosexuality is right there near the top of the list. I'm not sure if I would call that the worst thing that could ever happen to them, but there are many parents who are concerned about that. That same fear may exist in many of us of ourselves, that we will never experience that attraction to a person of the same gender, or to be subjected to that kind of abuse where we're forced into that kind of activity or behavior, or the fear that we might choose that lifestyle one day. You know, I'm always careful about saying never, but I really think I'm safe on this one. Amen. So the question for the homosexual may be, where am I and how did I get here? Or maybe it's more of a question that the heterosexual community is asking or should be asking. And that's what some parents are asking. That's what some spouses are asking. That's what some siblings are asking. That's what some friends, neighbors are asking. What happened to them? What made them go that way? What made them turn to that lifestyle? There are many people who are asking that question because they want to know what happened to their loved one, what happened to their friend, that they would make such a drastic change in lifestyle. But let me make something abundantly clear to you, my friend. We can teach, we can suggest, we can advise, we can recommend, we can ask, but we cannot tell other people, I'm talking about adults, how to live their life. Everyone is entitled to their own individuality. Now, this is my take, so don't hate. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome again to another episode of My Take on this Thursday, July the 15th, 2021. And as you know, this is where I discuss various issues that relate to everyday challenges of life. And you already know that I will talk about anything and even sometimes anybody, but always in a loving way, and yet calling it what it is, or at least calling it the way that I see it. You know, one of our favorite ways of deflecting attention and deflecting responsibility from ourselves is to point out the faults of others. And I know the response by some concerning this discussion will be no different. There'll be those who will try to deflect responsibility, deflect blame, because they don't want to address the real issues that are going on with them and that are going on in our society. So I'm ready for that. I'm up for it. I understand that we often do that. You know, we start pointing and talking about, well, everybody else is doing it. Well, so-and-so did it. Well, this and well, that. Well, y'all doing this and y'all doing that. And when we look at, you know, the heterosexuals, and then we say about them, what about children who are in homes with them that are neglected, that are abused, and that may be abandoned? You know, and while all that may be true, it doesn't excuse our behavior, my friend. So if you make a decision, stand up to that decision. Own that decision. Amen. You know, for the homosexual to ask, where am I? How did I get here? Or for the onlooker to ask, you know, those who are on the outside looking in, so to speak, where are they? What exactly are they involved in? And I know that there are people out there who are engaged and involved in homosexual activity who are even asking of themselves, how in the world did I ever get in this kind of a situation? Of course, I recognize there are some who are there and glad to be there. Some who they say are happy in those kinds of relationships, and I'm not going to question that. But there are some out there who are asking, who are wondering, how in the world did they ever get in that kind of a situation? What led them there? How did they get there? And exactly what are they into? What all is involved in it? And we're asking, those of us who are on the outside, we are asking, and I believe that both are valid questions. You know, I think it really depends on what our motive is when we ask. Why do you want to know? What's it to you? And we need to ask ourselves that. What is it to me? What is it to us? Well, by now you're probably asking exactly why or what am I advocating for, or whom am I advocating? You're probably wondering, why did I bring up the subject in the first place? Why am I discussing the issue of homosexuality? Well, I'm glad you asked. First of all, with the subject so prominent in the social aspect of our society, something so often discussed and debated in American politics, in American world and world health, I don't want to be ignorant. I don't want to be unlearned on the subject. Something as misunderstood as homosexuality, and something as confusing as it is, something as divisive as it can be. Why wouldn't we talk about it? Why wouldn't we discuss it? I believe that we have an obligation to have an honest and open discussion on the issue. Once again, I do understand there are people out there who are wondering, why am I talking about this? Why am I not addressing that? Why am I not addressing that? Well, be patient, my friend. I'll probably get to that too. Okay? But listen, we can't deflect things simply because we don't want to face them. I mean, that's like somebody getting caught committing a crime because the police is in their neighborhood. And they may be asking, what are you doing over here in the first place? Why aren't you out somewhere fighting real crime? Because we're trying to deflect responsibility. We're trying to deflect blame. So I'm well aware of that, but no problem. We're going to talk about it anyway. You want to know, what am I advocating? For whom am I advocating? I advocate for the many children and youth, listen, who are exposed to homosexual behavior and activity and that kind of lifestyle without having any say in the matter. I advocate for ignorant and fearful and hateful people like I have been, who never bothered to try to understand homosexuals or what leads people to this kind of lifestyle. I want to shed light on the many innocent boys and girls who have been abused, molested, and raped and forced into a life of homosexuality. My heart goes out to those who have been unduly and unfairly influenced or exploited by those in positions of power and authority, such as teachers, coaches, ministers, scout leaders, employers, and even parents or other relatives and families and friends. I'm concerned about the many young people who feel the pressure of being fashionable or trendy, and those who simply just join in, being led by their desire to belong in a certain circle. I hope in some way I can help those who feel trapped with no way of escape from a lifestyle where they have no idea what they have gotten themselves into, or have no idea how they got there. It's clear that there are many roads that lead to and have led to homosexuality. It's not just one way. It's not just for one reason. Some think it's something that they were born with or destined for. There are others who may not even know all that they are into, but they know exactly how they got there. Of course, there are those who make the choice, who have decided for themselves that they want that lifestyle. That's what they want. But I'm thinking they had to be introduced to it somehow, somewhere, by somebody. They had to be exposed to it in some manner. And sure, the thought could have just entered their mind like we do with certain things, where curiosity ends up killing the cat. Some are quietly and subtly coerced into this behavior, taken advantage of by smooth-talking, slick predators. Then there are those who are violently bullied and beaten into submission, those who are verbally and physically abused, sexually abused, forced to submit to being victimized by lust-driven or hate-driven individuals who care only to satisfy their perverted desires. The time and the area in which I lived growing up, in our neighborhood, and I'm glad, listen, I thank God that it's not like this. I hope it's not like this in our communities and in our society today. I'm telling you something. When I was growing up in the neighborhood where I was, I don't know whether it had to do with the time, whether it had to do with the area, the people, the culture, whatever. And I don't know if it was the same where you lived, where you grew up. I don't know that. But I do know where I live. People were vicious, mean towards those who even looked like or acted like they were homosexuals. In our neighborhood, the young people, could be brutal on someone that they thought were feminine or they thought were a girl being masculine. Let me tell you something, and this is the truth. It's the brutal truth. It's the tragic truth. But growing up where I grew up, in the time that I grew up, a feminine boy or a masculine girl didn't have a chance. They didn't have a chance. You talk about prejudice, you talk about discrimination, you talk about abuse, you talk about hostility, you talk about hate, all of that and then some. They were ridiculed. They were physically, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes sexually abused. They didn't have a chance. Some were tortured, listen, because of their appearance or because of their demeanor. Let me tell you something, my friend. If a boy walked through our neighborhood, if a boy walked through there tipping, talking softly, or twisting, he might as well go pick out a dress because it's a done deal. And if he wasn't in the first place, he is now. That's just the way it was. That's the hardcore reality of the time in which I grew up, in the area where I grew up. There are some, listen, who because of their environment, because of the influences around them, are confused about which way to go. They are confused about their own sexual identity. When a boy shows feminine characteristics and tendencies, and when a girl shows masculine or manly characteristics and tendencies, there are predators who are quick to seize upon them and take advantage of the opportunity and build on those tendencies and lure the unsuspecting into a lifestyle they otherwise would never have chosen for themselves. They're taken advantage of. Young and old alike are influenced by the images that are presented to them or fed to them from television and internet, showing same-sex couples in what appears to be loving, intimate relationships. And we're going to talk about that a little more in another episode, my friend. But we are in a society where this lifestyle is really being forced upon us, where there are those who are involved in this kind of a group who has this agenda where they're trying to normalize this kind of activity and then want us to accept that. No, my friend. Listen, there are many roads that lead to homosexuality, that lead to people adopting and taking up that lifestyle. Listen, it's really being forced upon us. Some are influenced by the celebrity entertainers and professional athletes and even high-profile politicians who make their grand worldwide announcement about being homosexual. And I believe that's the intent of their so-called coming out announcement. It's possible that boys are influenced or tempted to act feminine by being around girls all the time, or girls are influenced and tempted to act masculine by being around boys all the time. Let me tell you something, my friend. I've always enjoyed being around girls. When I was growing up, I loved to be where the girls were. But trust me, it wasn't because I was trying to become one of them. Amen. No way, my friend. Listen, you need to understand how I grew up. I grew up with my mother and 3 sisters in the house. No brother, no father in the house. And for much of the time, no other male around. Let me tell you something about my childhood. I played with dolls. I learned how to cook. I learned to wash and iron. I learned to braid and straighten hair. But I never, ever had any thought or desire to be a girl or even to act like a girl. One thing I did learn that I'm grateful for, I did learn how to fight like a girl. And that was a good thing. There are many roads that could possibly lead, let me say that, to homosexuality. But I don't believe either really has to lead to that. I believe in spite of what happens to us. I believe in spite of what we're exposed to. Now, children, young people may be a little bit different because they are easily influenced and they don't know how to process things sometimes. But I believe that those of us who are adults, that no matter what has happened to us, we have a choice now. Even if you're involved in that kind of behavior right now, you don't have to continue in that behavior. But now that's your choice. But I want you to know you do have a choice. You don't have to continue down that road if you don't want to. You can be delivered from it. You can make the choice that I no longer want to be involved, engaged in this lifestyle. I believe ultimately, my friend, that it's your choice, that it's our choice. I honestly believe that. No matter what has happened to us, we can blame, I'm this way because of this and I'm this way because of that. I feel your pain and I don't want to be insensitive, but I want you to understand something. You don't have to continue that way if you don't want to. If you don't want to. If you are frustrated, if you are confused about what you're involved in when it comes to homosexuality, listen, if you feel compelled, if you feel trapped, there is a way out. There is help if you want it. Now, I understand. I'm well aware that there are many out there who love what they're doing. They love what they're involved in. They, wouldn't have it any other way. More power to you. Just not my idea of having fun. So let me close with this. I want to close with what I want to call this final road. There are many roads, and we talked about some of them. Even beyond what I've talked about today, there are still others. But I want to close with this final road, if you will, that I believe that can lead to homosexuality, and that is our feelings, a feeling, a thought, an inclination. Let me tell you something about feelings. Feelings are necessity. They are a necessity in life and are necessary for life. But feelings that are unrestrained or left to swirl out of control are dangerous and can be deadly. And I believe that this is how many people are getting involved in homosexuality. I think they feeling like, you feel like, you're a girl, but you feel like you're a boy. You're a boy, but you feel like you're a girl. Your feelings are getting in the way. And please understand that we have to control our feelings. It is essential to living an ordered life. It's essential to living a civil life. We have to control ourselves. You can't allow, your feelings to rule you. Feelings are important. Trust me, feelings are important. I know that. But when it comes to deviant or perverted behavior, when it comes to criminal or violent behavior, when confronted with life-changing and life-altering decisions, managing our feelings is an absolute necessity. Certain feelings we should never consider. Listen, we don't feed into those feelings. We don't give in to those feelings. We don't entertain those feelings. Pure and simple, we fight those feelings. We don't feed those feelings. We cannot surrender to or act on every feeling that comes our way. Anything could pop up in your mind. Any feeling could enter your heart, your spirit. A man could feel something towards another man's wife, or a woman could feel something for another woman's husband. But we don't feed those feelings. We fight those feelings. A student could have feelings for their teacher or their pastor or their coach, or the coach, the minister, or the teacher could have feelings for the student. But we don't entertain those thoughts. We don't feed those feelings. We fight them. A father even could have inappropriate feelings for his daughter or his son, or likewise the son or daughter for their father or their mother. But we don't feed those feelings. We fight them. We don't entertain them. We don't think about them. We don't consider them. And because it is, I know you may not agree with me, but this is my take, okay? And I understand what you think is what you think, and I respect your ability to think and your right to think, okay? But it is because of this being an unnatural and an abnormal behavior. It is when a man is attracted to another man, when a woman is intimately or sexually attracted to another man. When a man is attracted to a man, a woman attracted to a woman in an intimate way, or anyway towards another who is of the same sex or the same gender. I don't believe that we feed or entertain those thoughts and those feelings. I believe we fight them. I don't believe we give in to them. Just as you would if it were a matter between your son or your daughter and their teacher, their coach or friend, you wouldn't feed into those feelings. You wouldn't support or encourage them if they had those kinds of feelings. And neither would you ignore those feelings. You would very lovingly and gently try to lead them in what you consider a more appropriate path. Listen, my friend, feelings can get us in trouble. Feelings can get us in trouble. And when it comes to parents and children, it's just plain foolish and irresponsible for a parent to take the attitude of your underage, immature child. Well, that's their choice. That's what they want to do. Or, well, I let them make up their own mind about their life. These are children. These are young people who are not ready to make those kinds of decisions. And this is one of the reasons that I believe that they should never be exposed if it can be helped. They should never be exposed to this kind of lifestyle or this kind of behavior. I'm totally again. I'll have to talk about this in another episode, but I'll say it again. I said it before. I am totally in disagreement with a child being allowed to go into a homosexual relationship. This child doesn't understand what's going on. This child is very impressionable, but there's this agenda to try to convert people and to try to make people accept a lifestyle that is unnatural, my friend. I don't care how you feel about it. I mean, I respect your feelings. I respect that. You may think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but I don't. I don't. Listen, we cannot follow our feelings all the time. Anything is subject to come to our mind. Anything. Listen, and let me just say this to you. You do what you want to do. But when and if you notice your son or your daughter leaning in that direction or showing signs of interest in the same sex or signs of feminine behavior for the boy or masculine or manly behavior in the girls, we're not living in the old days where we could just chalk it up as, a girl being a tomboy. It may be more serious than that. Why not have a talk with them? Why not at least explore what's going on with them and explain to them how they should handle certain thoughts and certain feelings? You would do it if it involved your child and a teacher. You would do it if it involved your child and the minister. You would do it if it involved your child and the coach. I would hope so. I would hope you would. So why not? If you notice that or if they express that to you, don't condemn them. Don't be critical of them, but take time to talk to them. Take time to try to find out where they are and how they got there. Now that's my take. What do you have to say? Go ahead, sound off. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate so much you being with us today. Listen, my friend, I hope you'll continue to stay with us as we talk about this, because we're going to be talking about the politics of homosexuality. We're going to be talking about unfair and unfounded assumptions about homosexuality and homosexuals. We're going to be talking about fear, anger, and violence toward homosexuals. We'll be talking about those particular subjects as well as 2 or 3 other subjects. We probably have 3, 4 more messages or segments or episodes, whatever you want to call it, before we close it out. So I want to encourage you to continue to be with us, okay? God bless you. Always appreciate your prayers. And as I continue to pray for you, you be blessed, my friend, and stay safe. God bless you.